How many times have you shared your dreams, only to be met with mockery? How many times have you opened your heart, only for others to throw it to the ground? How many times did you think you had finally found a way out, only to fall into an even deeper hole? The greatest pain is not failure. The greatest pain is believing you've stood back up, only for the world to crush you once again. Be honest. Have you ever worked relentlessly, sacrificed your time, held on to the belief that justice would reward you, only to see the promotion go to someone who knew how to manipulate the system? Have you ever given everything in love, only to be abandoned for another? Or maybe you shared your startup idea with your best friend, only to watch them steal it and claim it as their own. Listen carefully. The world doesn't care how much you've suffered. It doesn't care how many nights you've cried in the dark, how many times you swore you would change, how many times you whispered to yourself, tomorrow will be different. No, the world does not wait for you. If you are weak, you will be crushed. If you fall, others will step over your corpse to move forward. Doesn't it sting to realize this? And what will you do now? Complain one more time, or turn your bitterness into fire? In the eyes of the strong, fairness is an illusion. Your kindness does not earn their respect, it only makes you easier to exploit. No one is coming to save you. No God will pull you out of the mud. If you do not turn yourself into someone others fear, you will forever remain prey. Have you ever felt like you gave everything, and all you received in return was silence, betrayal? But rising up is not just about moving on. It wells Afrin. Rising up means turning pain into fuel. Others see failure and retreat. You see failure and forge it into steel. That is the art. That is how you turn humiliation into a weapon. How you rise from ashes into someone who can never again be dismissed. Have you ever considered that the very pain that tried to kill you is the same pain that will save you? Change does not come overnight. Time itself is the test. Just as fire tests gold, suffering tests the human spirit. The more you endure, the more you are forged. Time will either turn you into a walking corpse or into someone no one dares to touch. Which side will you choose? To heal, you don't need comforting words. You need silence. You need discipline. Don't tell the world how much you hurt. Let your pain teach you silence, focus, and the art of turning wounds into armor. Scars do not weaken you. They are proof you are unbreakable. Are you carrying scars whose true value only you can understand? Without discipline, you will repeat the same mistakes. Discipline is choosing hardship now to avoid paying a far greater price later. The weak live by emotion, the strong live by discipline, and it is discipline that transforms you into someone others fear to cross. Ask yourself honestly, are you a slave to emotion or the master of discipline? If today were your last day, would you still fear being judged? Would you still fear mockery? Or would you finally live as your true self? When you live as though there is no tomorrow, all chains of society, all skeptical eyes disappear. And in that moment, you begin to taste freedom. Will you dare to live that way? Starting today, this is no longer about simply standing up. This is about seizing the power that has always belonged to you. Not the power given by others, but the power within you, the kind of strength that, when you stay silent, the whole world still feels compelled to respect. Remember, you were not born to be prey. You were born to become someone whose silence alone commands fear. If you've ever felt this way, leave a comment. I am ready to rise. And watch until the end of this video, because you will finally understand why the very pain you carry today is the weapon that will make you untouchable tomorrow. Have you ever noticed that the very moment you speak your most important truth is also the moment it loses its power? Have you ever shared a plan, an idea, a deep insight, only for it to be dismissed, mocked, or even exploited? Why is it that what follows our words so often contradicts what we had hoped for? A seed, if pulled from the soil too soon and shown to everyone, dies instantly, not because it is weak, but because it hasn't yet taken root. The truth inside you is the same. It needs silence to grow. It must be shielded from skeptical eyes, mocking voices, and the hands of others. Are you killing your own seed simply because you cannot wait? Think about social media. How many people eagerly post about their new life-changing plans, declaring they will read 50 books, hit the gym 6 times a week, launch a $1 million startup, and yet within weeks, it all vanishes without a trace. Why? Because they planted their seeds on public ground. Their envious eyes, skepticism, and ridicule trampled it before it could take root. Have you ever been one of them? When you share too early, you think you are giving, but in truth, you are searching for validation. You want others to say, "That's amazing, that's so wise." But that hunger is the trap of the ego. Do you realize that every time you rush to prove yourself, you hand over control of your emotions to others? The wise understand. Power lies not in what you reveal, but in what you withhold. The most dangerous fighter is not the one who shows off before the crowd, but the one who stays silent, striking only when necessary. In a meeting, the one who talks endlessly is often forgotten, while the one who stays silent and speaks only at the end is the one who makes the entire room hold its breath. Have you ever witnessed silence so powerful it drowned out 1,000 words? Machiavelli once reminded us, "He who knows how to keep silent is the one who controls the game." Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. Silence is waiting until your strength becomes an indestructible weapon. And when you finally speak, your words need no agreement because your presence alone compels others to listen. So here's a challenge. For the next 3 days, whenever you feel the urge to share a plan or boast about an idea, stop. Don't post. Don't explain. Don't tell anyone. Instead, write it down and keep it for yourself. Then watch. Does the silence make that idea stronger within you? Ask yourself, how many times have I weakened my own power just because I wanted applause? Do I have the patience to stay silent and let the truth inside me take root and grow? Am I brave enough to live 3 days without boasting, without explaining, only acting in silence? Do not rush to share. Do not rush to prove. Let silence be your shield, the soil that nourishes your truth. One day, when you walk into a room, others will feel your power radiating from your gaze, from your silence, from your unshakable composure. And by then, you won't need to say a single word, because the world itself will speak for you. If you understand that silence nurtures power, leave a comment. Silence is power. And don't leave just yet, because in the next part, you will uncover an even harsher truth. Why the craving for recognition is the greatest trap of your life. Ask yourself, why are we so quick to tell others about what we've just discovered? Why is it that when we find a truth that could change our life, we feel the urge to shout it to the world? Is it really because we want to share, or because deep down, we crave recognition? Think back. How many times have you achieved a small victory and immediately posted it on social media? Your first day at the gym, the first page of a book you read, an idea that just sparked in your mind. You wanted others to exclaim, "Wow, amazing." But when the praise faded, when the attention disappeared, you fell into an emptiness even deeper than before. Have you ever felt like a beggar, collecting scraps of approval from the crowd? And sometimes the price is even more brutal. You trusted someone, you confided your plan or secret to someone close. And not long after, they used it against you, mocking you, belittling you, even betraying you. Sometimes you even found yourself becoming a joke in their eyes. Remember this: recognition from the wrong person is not a reward. It is a death sentence for your confidence. Have you ever been betrayed just because you were too eager to be understood? Here is the truth. That desire for recognition is an invisible chain binding you. Others don't need to attack you, they only need to stay silent. Their silence becomes the blade that cuts your confidence to pieces. And then you ask yourself, am I truly valuable? Doesn't it hurt to realize that your power doesn't lie in your own hands, but in the eyes of others? Machiavelli once said, "The powerful never need to prove themselves, only the weak crave applause." Every time you long for praise, you surrender your power to someone else. The truly powerful never need to explain. They simply live, and their results force others to acknowledge them. But if you learn to stay silent, if you learn to hide your progress, if you act without boasting, your silence itself becomes the force that makes others curious. They begin to wonder, why has this person changed? Why do they remain so calm? Why is it that just a single look, a single smile, can command such respect? Try this strategy. Every time you feel the urge to show off, ask yourself, am I doing this because I want recognition or because I want to protect my power? Can I remain silent for 7 days? Can I let this new truth become a habit, a part of my blood, before speaking it out loud? The weak share in order to be praised. The strong keep quiet, so that when they act, no one can deny them. Which one do you choose to be? And when you practice long enough, you will discover something strange. You no longer need recognition at all. Peace within yourself becomes the true reward. You no longer need applause. You no longer need admiring eyes. And at that moment, you step into a higher realm of power, the realm of those whose very presence silences others. If you have ever fallen into the trap of craving recognition, leave a comment. I don't need to prove myself, because when you no longer need recognition, you will encounter another truth, that the price of this freedom is loneliness, and not everyone is brave enough to face it. Have you ever felt that you've changed, but the world around you remained the same? You begin to see clearly the things that once blinded you, yet your old friends still chase cheap pleasures. You sit in the middle of a loud party, the laughter, the music, the bragging echo everywhere, and suddenly you realize, I no longer belong here. Have you ever experienced that moment when you sit among the crowd but feel like an outsider? That is the loneliness of the awakened. When you see the truth, shallow entertainments lose their charm. When you understand discipline, you no longer want to waste time as before. When you grasp the power of silence, you no longer feel the need to shout just to prove you exist. And in that moment, you begin to lose one thing: your harmony with the crowd. Others will call you hard to understand, cold, even arrogant. But the truth is, you're simply walking a path they've never seen. Do you dare to continue, knowing that path leads to loneliness? Do you dare to trade 10 false friends for the one real version of yourself? Machiavelli once wrote, "A lone wolf is more dangerous than a pack of sheep." Why? Because the one who has learned to embrace solitude no longer seeks approval. And when you no longer need approval, you become free. The price of awakening is isolation, but the reward is power. Remember this. No one can walk with you forever. There are stretches of the road you must travel alone, and it is in that darkness where you finally hear your own voice. It is in those long, silent nights where you sharpen your resolve, and it is only when no one stands beside you that you learn how to become the strongest version of yourself. Ask yourself, are you clinging to dead relationships just because you fear loneliness? Are you sacrificing your own growth just to be accepted? Or are you brave enough to let go, to stand alone, to endure silence until it no longer feels like fear, but transforms into strength? See loneliness as a test. Each time you overcome it, you rise to a new level. When you learn to sit alone without feeling empty, when you remain silent yet feel full of power, that is the moment you are no longer a victim of isolation. You have turned it into your weapon, and then the day will come when the same crowd that once mocked you will fall silent as you walk in. Not because you argued with them, not because you begged for respect, but because the change within you is too obvious, too powerful, too undeniable. Your silence will shake them more than 1,000 defenses ever could. If you have ever experienced the loneliness of awakening, leave a comment. I choose to walk alone. Because only when you dare to walk alone will you be strong enough to learn the next lesson. That true power does not lie in what you show, but in what you hold back. Have you ever wondered why the truly dangerous ones are the silent ones? Why in a noisy room, the person who says nothing is the one who unsettles the entire crowd? And do you remember the last time you lost your temper, reacted too quickly, and later regretted it because you had become so predictable? The truth is this: whoever cannot restrain themselves has already handed their power to others. All it takes is for someone to provoke you, and you reveal everything: your weaknesses, your emotions, your fears. Have you ever realized how easily you were manipulated by just a small insult? On the other hand, the one who knows restraint never lets others pull their strings. They can be insulted, yet still smile. They can be provoked, yet remain still. And when they finally strike, it is not out of impulse, but with precision, delivering a blow that ends everything instantly. Who do you want to be, the one led by emotions, or the one the entire world fears because of their calm? Remember, the one who loses their temper has already lost even before the battle begins. Machiavelli once wrote, "The greatest power is not the ability to act, but the ability not to act." The disciplined understand that silence can be far more dangerous than 1,000 threats. Look at a simple example. On social media, when someone attacks you, you could respond, writing endless lines to prove you are right. But in the end, you only helped them win because you gave them what they wanted: attention. Yet if you stay silent, unshaken, letting time expose their shallowness, you become the true victor. Have you ever stayed silent long enough to see your enemy make a fool of themselves? In bars, in real-life encounters, you'll often see those who flex their muscles, shout loudly, trying to prove their strength. But the best fighter usually sits quietly in a corner, calm, humble. And when he is forced to act once, no one ever dares to test him again. Restraint is not cowardice, it is the mark of strength that doesn't need to be flaunted. Try these 3 strategies. 1. Observe instead of reacting. When insulted, ask yourself, if I say nothing, does this actually make me weaker? If the answer is no, then silence itself is your strength. 2. Let others expose themselves. In arguments, the less you speak, the more your opponent loses control. The more they reveal their weakness while you remain unmoved, like a mountain. 3. Act only when you have the advantage. Don't fight to prove you are right. Fight only when one single strike is enough to end it all. Think back. The last time you chose silence instead of reacting, didn't you feel more in control? And the last time you exploded, didn't you regret being so predictable? If you choose to master silence and restraint, leave a comment. I choose restraint. Because only when you restrain yourself do you realize this: not every truth should be shared. Some things are too precious, so precious that you must protect them, even from those closest to you. Have you ever shared a plan, a dream, a secret, only to see it later turned into a weapon against you? Have you ever trusted someone to support you, only to be mocked, doubted, or even betrayed with the very truth you revealed? The brutal truth is this: not everyone deserves to hear your truth. Some people are not ready. Some don't want you to rise, because your growth is a slap in the face to their stagnation. And some are simply enemies disguised as friends. So ask yourself, are you handing weapons to others simply because you don't know how to stay silent? Machiavelli once emphasized, not every ear has the right to hear the truth. For if you reveal it to the wrong person, your truth becomes the blade that cuts you down. Look at real-life examples. A passionate startup founder shares his idea with a close friend, only to watch that friend launch the product months later, stealing all the effort. Or in love, a secret you shared in a vulnerable moment later becomes the weapon used to hurt you when the relationship collapses. How many times have you turned your own truth into a joke for others? The wise know how to categorize. Some truths should be kept only for yourself. Some truths can be shared, but only with those whose interests are truly aligned with yours. And some truths should be allowed to grow into undeniable results before ever being revealed. Remember, not everyone has the strength to protect your truth with you. Some will doubt it. Some will mock it. Some will betray it. That's why the question you must always ask is, does this person have the strength to carry this truth? Or will they dissolve it in laughter and doubt? Follow these 3 Machiavellian principles to protect your truth. 1. Keep it secret until it becomes habit. If you're building a new discipline, stay silent until it becomes part of your very blood. Then, no ridicule can break you. 2. Share selectively. Reveal only to those whose success is tied to your own. Outsiders won't understand, and most will resist. 3. When forced to speak, speak as if granting a favor, not defending yourself. Truth revealed at the right moment is like a sharpened blade, short, precise, undeniable. Have you noticed that every time you speak your plan out loud, your enthusiasm seems to weaken just a little? And when you fail, your own words become the rope tightening around your neck. Do you dare to try 7 days of silence, keeping every idea locked within, letting it live inside you, instead of exposing it for others to crush? If you understand that truth must be protected before it is revealed, leave a comment. I will protect my power. Because once you learn to guard your truth, you will see. Silence is not just for safety. Silence itself becomes a sharpened weapon. One that makes others tremble, even when you don't say a word. Have you ever walked into a room full of people laughing, arguing, boasting, and then noticed how, unconsciously, every eye turned toward one person? That person said nothing. They didn't interrupt, didn't try to prove themselves. Yet their silence made the entire room cautious. Have you ever witnessed a moment like that? That is the power of silence. It creates space, and that space makes others uneasy. It forces them to wonder, what is this person thinking? Why are they not speaking? What do they know that we don't? Silence turns you into a mystery, and in the game of power, mystery is always more dangerous than predictability. Machiavelli once wrote, "He who controls silence controls the game." When you remain silent, you force others to speculate. When you do not react, they fill the silence with their own fear, their doubt, and sometimes even their respect. Do you want to turn your silence into such a weapon? Look at true leaders. They don't need to shout to command. A single glance, a well-timed pause, often carries more weight than a long speech. In a world overflowing with noise, silence becomes the rarest signal, one that everyone notices. There are 3 ways to turn silence into a weapon. 1. Let others speak first. Silence allows you to listen, observe, and catch the contradictions in their words and their eyes. 2. Choose the right moment to strike. A short statement, delivered after everyone else has shown their hand, carries 10 times the weight. 3. Use silence as psychological pressure. Don't rush to react when attacked. Let your silence make the opponent impatient until they reveal their own weakness. Remember, your silence makes them hear the noise in their own minds. That is how silence becomes an attack. Think about online debates. The one who speaks endlessly only grows more chaotic, exposing their weakness. But the one who stays silent, who observes, and then strikes with a single sentence at the right time, immediately seizes the advantage. Will you dare to try that power? Silence is not only a weapon against others, it is also a weapon for yourself. It keeps you from acting foolishly in anger. It prevents you from oversharing in excitement. It forces you to observe, analyze, and act only when necessary. And in the game of power, the one who speaks least is often the one who makes the final move. So which will you be? The one who shouts to prove their presence, or the one whose silence alone makes the entire room uneasy? If you understand that silence can become an invisible sword, leave a comment. Silence is my weapon. Gede. It is the Benza's side. It is well sided by the Martha. To it. Because one day you will realize true power does not come from what you say, but from what you conceal. And only when you know how to withhold truth and strength will you learn to unleash them as a fatal strike. You've heard enough. But ask yourself, what will you do with everything you've just learned? Will you keep it as a philosophy, or will you turn it into your very blood and flesh? The brutal truth is this: knowledge will not save you. Books, lectures, videos like this, they are nothing more than sparks. If you do not ignite the fire yourself, it will fade, and you will return to where you started, weak, dependent, begging for recognition. Do you want your life to keep repeating that cycle? Look back at the path you've just walked through. You've been warned. The world does not care about your tears. You've faced the harsh truth. Fairness is an illusion. You've learned the art of rising, turning pain into steel. You've endured the test of time, where patience forges the invincible. You've discovered that healing doesn't come from comfort, but from discipline and silence. You've seen that restraint itself is a form of power, and you now know silence can become a weapon. But all of this means nothing if you don't act. This is no longer theory, it is a choice. Will you continue living like prey, talking too much to cover your weakness? Or will you live as the one who holds the power of silence, making the entire world tread carefully around you? Machiavelli once warned, power does not come from what you boast, but from what you hold back until the right moment. That is why the truly dangerous never speak too much. They act, and their results speak for them. So here is the final challenge for you. For the next 7 days, choose one thing you want to brag about, one idea you want to share, one achievement you want recognized, and stay silent. Don't speak, don't post, don't explain. Let it grow within you. Then observe. How much stronger do you feel when you no longer need the world's recognition? Remember, the weak need applause to live. The strong need only silence to shake the world. Which one will you choose to be? If you are ready for this challenge, leave a comment. Silence is power. This will not just be words, it will be a vow. Not to me, not to anyone else, but to yourself. And one day, when you walk into a room without boasting, without explaining, without saying a word, and yet all eyes turn to you, then you will understand. You have turned silence into your throne. Because silence is not escape. Silence is how you become the one whose very presence makes others tremble.